My name is Emily Reed. I'm 32 years old, a senior accountant at Northfield Supply Company, and tonight I'm walking into my parents' house carrying a pumpkin pie and 5 years of financial evidence that's about to change everything. This is the story of how I spent half a decade funding my family's lifestyle while they called me boring, practical, and forgettable. How I paid for my sister's apartment, her car, her health insurance, her credit cards, her dreams, while she posted Instagram photos calling me the responsible one, like it was an insult. How my parents looked me in the eye and said, "Family helps family," while taking my money and giving my sister their love. This is the story of the night I stopped helping. The night I brought receipts instead of just bringing pie. The night I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face their own consequences. If you've ever been the family ATM, if you've ever paid for someone else's life while they took credit for your generosity, if you've ever been called selfish for setting a boundary, then this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button. Comment below if you've ever had to choose between being used and being labeled ungrateful. And stay with me, because what happened at that Thanksgiving dinner is going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about family obligation. Let me take you back to where this started. Back to when I still believed that sacrifice was love, that enabling was helping, that being the reliable one was something to be proud of. I grew up in a family where love was conditional and attention was earned. My parents, Gary and Linda Reed, were middle-class strivers who cared deeply about appearances. We lived in a nice neighborhood in a house we could barely afford, drove cars we leased instead of owned, took vacations we put on credit cards. Everything was about looking successful, even when we weren't. I was the older daughter, responsible from birth, it seemed. I got good grades because that's what good daughters did. I worked part-time jobs starting at 15. I saved for college because I knew scholarships and loans were my only path to higher education. I learned early that in our family, my job was to make things easier for everyone else. Taylor was born 3 years after me, and from the moment she arrived, the family dynamic shifted in a way that would define the next 3 decades. Taylor was beautiful, not just pretty, striking. Dark hair, big eyes, the kind of face that photographs well and makes people stop and stare. More importantly, Taylor knew how to use it. She learned young that tears got her what she wanted, that smiles deflected consequences, that being charming meant being forgiven. By the time she was 10, she had perfected the art of manipulation disguised as sweetness, and my parents ate it up. I got straight A's. Taylor got C's and D's, but cried about how hard she tried. I worked summer jobs. Taylor said work was too stressful for her sensitive nature. I saved money for college. Taylor said college wasn't for everyone, and my parents agreed she should find her passion instead. The pattern was set early. I was the responsible one who didn't need attention. Taylor was the precious one who needed protection. I was expected to handle everything myself. Taylor was coddled, excused, enabled at every turn. But I didn't mind. Not really. Not at first. She was my little sister. I loved her. And I genuinely believed that taking care of her was what big sisters did. I didn't understand yet that there's a difference between helping someone and being used by them. I went to state college on scholarships and student loans, lived in the cheapest dorms, worked 20 hours a week while taking a full course load, graduated with honors and a job offer at Northfield Supply Company as a junior accountant. I was 22, starting salary of $38,000, and I felt like I'd made it. Taylor was 19 and had just dropped out of community college after one semester. "It wasn't for me," she said. My parents nodded sympathetically. "Not everyone is academic like Emily." I started paying off my student loans. $30,000 of debt that would take me years to clear. I lived in a studio apartment with a roommate, ate ramen, drove a 15-year-old car. Every dollar was budgeted. Every expense was tracked. I was building a foundation for my future. Taylor moved back home, worked retail part-time, spent her paychecks on clothes and makeup and social life, talked about becoming an influencer, a model, someone famous. My parents encouraged her dreams. "She has potential," they'd say. "She just needs the right opportunity." When Taylor was 21, she met Brandon Cole. He was 23, charming in a surface way, full of big plans and bigger dreams. He worked in sales, talked about starting his own business, about investments and opportunities. My parents loved him. "Finally, someone who understands ambition," Dad said. I saw something different. I saw a guy who talked big but delivered small, who had expensive taste and entry-level income, who looked at Taylor and saw someone he could shape into his vision of a perfect partner, beautiful, agreeable, willing to live beyond their means to maintain an image. They got engaged after 6 months. The wedding was planned for a year later, and that's when the requests started. "Emily, could you help with the engagement party?" Just a small contribution. I contributed $500. The party cost $3,000, all of which went on my parents' credit cards that they struggled to pay. "Emily, could you help with the dress?" Taylor found her dream dress, but it's a little over budget. I contributed $800. The dress cost $2,500, again, credit cards. "Emily, could you help with the bachelorette party? You're the maid of honor, and Taylor really wants to go to Miami." I paid for my own flight, hotel, and meals, plus contributed to Taylor's expenses. $1,500 for a weekend I couldn't afford. The wedding itself cost $35,000. My parents contributed $20,000 they didn't have. Brandon's parents contributed $5,000, and I was asked to contribute the remaining $10,000 as a sister, as family. I should have said no. Should have explained that I was 25 years old with student loans and rent and my own life to fund. Should have set a boundary, but I didn't. Because family helps family. Because Taylor cried and said she'd always dreamed of this wedding. Because my parents said it would mean so much. Because saying no felt like being cruel. I took out a personal loan, $10,000 at 8% interest. And I paid for my sister's dream wedding. At the reception, Taylor gave a speech thanking everyone who made the day possible. She thanked the vendors. She thanked her friends. She thanked Mom and Dad for giving her the wedding of her dreams. She thanked Brandon's parents for their generosity. She didn't mention me, not once, not even in passing. When I asked her about it later, she looked confused. "I thanked the family. You're part of the family." I didn't think I needed to specify. That should have been my wake-up call. That should have been the moment I realized I wasn't a sister to her. I was a resource, but I made excuses. She was overwhelmed. It was a stressful day. She didn't mean to overlook me. The requests didn't stop after the wedding. They increased. Taylor and Brandon moved into an apartment they couldn't afford. Could I help with the security deposit? Just a loan, they'd pay me back. I gave them $2,000. Never saw it again. Taylor needed a car. Could I co-sign? Her credit wasn't great, but with my signature, she could get approved. I co-signed. got stuck making payments when they temporarily couldn't afford it. Those temporary payments lasted 6 months. Brandon's business idea needed startup capital. Could I invest? Just $5,000 for a 20% stake. I invested. The business failed within 4 months. I lost every penny. Taylor's health insurance through Brandon's job was too expensive. Could I add her to my employer plan? Just until they figured things out. I added her, paid the extra premium for 3 years and counting. Every month, a new request. Every month, a new crisis that only my money could solve. Car insurance, credit card minimums, rent shortfalls, utility bills, medical copays. Everything ended up in my lap, and every month I paid. Because family helps family. Because they needed me. Because saying no meant being called selfish, ungrateful, cruel. But I started keeping records. Spreadsheets detailing every dollar. Bank statements showing every transfer. Text messages documenting every request. Not because I planned to use them, just because I needed to see the truth myself. Needed to understand how much I was really giving. Over 5 years, I gave them $70,800. $70,000. That's a down payment on a house. That's a master's degree. That's a retirement fund. That's security and stability and a future I could have built for myself. Instead, I funded my sister's lifestyle while she posted Instagram photos of her perfect life, her beautiful apartment, her stylish clothes, photos that got thousands of likes, photos where she looked successful and I looked invisible. Because I was never in those photos. I was always behind the camera, behind the scenes, behind the money that made it all possible. I was the funding, not the family. My parents saw it all and said nothing. Worse, they encouraged it. Every time I hesitated to help, Dad would invoke the family motto, "Family helps family, Emily." That's what we do. Every time I suggested Taylor get a full-time job, Mom would defend her. She's trying. She's just not as practical as you. Not everyone is good with money. Every time I felt resentful, they'd remind me, "You make good money. You don't have kids. You can afford to help. Why are you being so selfish?" Selfish. That word followed me everywhere. Wanting to keep my own money was selfish. Wanting to save for my own future was selfish. Wanting basic appreciation was selfish. Wanting to stop being used was selfish. I started to believe them. Started to think maybe I was selfish. Maybe this is just what family meant. Sacrifice without reward. Given without receiving. Helping without being helped. But then came Thanksgiving, and everything changed. The text came from Mom on Tuesday morning. Thanksgiving dinner at our house. 6:30 p.m. Bring a pumpkin pie. And Emily, please don't bring up money issues. It makes everyone uncomfortable. Don't bring up money issues. As if I was the problem. As if I was the one making things uncomfortable by having the audacity to exist in my own financial reality. I'd been planning to skip Thanksgiving. I was exhausted. Work had been brutal. Quarter-end closing meant 60-hour weeks. I was emotionally drained from another month of Taylor's requests and my parents' expectations. I wanted to stay home, order Chinese food, watch movies, and exist in peace. But Mom's text had that edge to it, that tone that said, if I didn't show up, there would be consequences. Guilt trips, accusations of abandoning the family, lectures about how I was becoming distant and cold. So I went. But this time, I prepared differently. I spent Tuesday evening organizing my financial records. 5 years of spreadsheets, bank statements, loan documents, text message screenshots. every request, every dollar, every broken promise to pay me back. I compiled it all into one comprehensive document. $70,800, documented down to the penny. I didn't plan to use it. Not really. I just wanted to have it. Wanted to see it all in one place. Wanted proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't selfish, wasn't making things up. I sent a copy to my cousin Mark. Mark worked in HR at a financial services firm. He was the only family member I trusted, the only one who'd ever suggested that maybe, just maybe, my family was taking advantage of me. Holy hell, he texted back. Emily, this is financial abuse. You know that, right? Financial abuse? I'd never thought of it that way. But seeing the words, seeing the numbers, something clicked. This wasn't family helping family. This was family exploiting family. What are you going to do? Mark asked. I don't know. But I'm done being quiet about it. Wednesday morning, I went to the bank. I pulled up every auto pay I had set up for Taylor. Rent assistance, credit card minimum payments, health insurance premiums. Car lease supplementals, the family phone plan where I paid for everyone's lines. I didn't cancel them. Not yet. But I prepared to. Made sure I knew exactly how to do it, exactly what would happen when I did. Then I called my credit union about the $18,000 student loan I'd co-signed for Taylor 3 years ago. She'd gone back to community college, lasted 1 semester, and dropped out again. The loan was in both our names. I'd been making payments for 2 years while she contributed nothing. Can I remove myself as cosigner? I asked. Only if the primary borrower can qualify for the loan independently, the loan officer said. Has Miss Reed established sufficient credit and income? No. Then removing yourself would mean the loan goes into default unless she can refinance or find another cosigner. What happens if it defaults? The full amount becomes due immediately. If she can't pay, we'd pursue legal remedies, collections, possible wage garnishment, significant credit damage. And if I stay on as cosigner, you remain legally responsible for the debt. If she doesn't pay, we come after you. Your credit is on the line. I'd been protecting her credit at the expense of my own for 2 years, paying her debt so she wouldn't face consequences, enabling her to ignore responsibility because I was always there to catch her. I want to start the process to remove myself, I said. Whatever needs to happen. I'll send you the paperwork. But Miss Reed, I should warn you, this will likely result in default. Are you prepared for that? Yes, I am. Wednesday afternoon, I baked the pumpkin pie Mom requested, used her recipe, made it perfect. Packed it carefully, then I loaded my laptop into my bag, along with a flash drive containing 5 years of financial documentation, along with the paperwork from the credit union, along with the certainty that tonight everything was going to change. I arrived at my parents' house at exactly 6:30 p.m. The place was already full. Mom, Dad, Taylor, Brandon's parents, a few aunts and uncles. Everyone dressed nicely, drinking wine, laughing about something I'd missed. Emily. Mom took the pie without really looking at me. Finally, we were about to start without you. Sorry, work ran late. Always work with you, Dad said, not quite fondly. You need to learn to relax more. Be more like Taylor. She knows how to enjoy life. Taylor was across the room in a designer dress I knew she couldn't afford. Probably purchased with one of my credit card supplementals. She waved at me, bright smile, perfect makeup. Instagram ready? Everyone sit. Dinner's ready? Mom called. We arranged ourselves around the dining table. Taylor and Brandon at the center, closest to Mom and Dad. Me at the end, next to Taylor's father-in-law, who I'd met exactly twice before. The seating arrangement said everything about family hierarchy. Dad carved the turkey. Mom brought out sides. Brandon poured wine. Taylor took photos of every dish for her Instagram story. The caption, I later saw, was, "Grateful for family and these amazing home-cooked meals. Blessed, wash Thanksgiving, wash family first." She'd tag everyone except me. We passed dishes around, made small talk, discussed safe topics, weather, football, holiday shopping. Everything surface level, everything careful. Nobody mentioned money. Nobody mentioned help. Nobody mentioned the thousands of dollars flowing from my account to Taylor's every month. Then, just as dessert was being served, Taylor raised her wine glass. "Before we eat pie, I want to say something." She waited until everyone was quiet, until all eyes were on her. "I'm grateful for family, for having people who support each other. But I'm also tired." She looked directly at me. "I'm tired of certain people constantly bringing up money, constantly making me feel guilty for needing help, constantly acting like being generous is some huge sacrifice." My stomach dropped. She was doing this, actually doing this, publicly, in front of everyone. She was painting herself as the victim of my what? My help. "Family helps family," she continued. "That's what we do. But some people make you feel like you owe them something, like helping should come with strings attached, like love has a price tag." Brandon nodded supportively. Mom looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Dad was nodding too, like Taylor was making excellent points. So I just want to say, if helping me is such a burden, maybe stop. If you're going to make me feel guilty every time I need support, maybe I don't want that support. Family shouldn't keep score. She sat down. A few people clapped awkwardly. Taylor looked righteous, vindicated, like she'd just delivered an important message. And I just sat there, pie in front of me, feeling every eye on me, waiting for me to apologize, waiting for me to back down, waiting for me to be the bigger person and let this slide. Instead, I pulled out my laptop. "You're right," I said quietly. "Family shouldn't keep score. But someone should. Someone should at least know what the score is." I opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet. 5 years, 12 months per year. Every request, every dollar, every broken promise. "Do you have the house Wi-Fi password?" I asked Mom. She gave it to me, confused. I connected to their smart TV and started screen mirroring. The spreadsheet appeared on the living room television. 60 inches of financial truth in high definition. "What are you doing?" Taylor's voice had lost its righteous tone. "Showing everyone the score. Since you think I'm keeping it, let's make it visible." I stood up and walked to the TV. Used my phone as a pointer. 5 years of documentation. Every time someone in this family asked me for help. Every dollar I transferred. Every bill I paid. Every loan I co-signed. All here. All documented. All adding up to $70,800. The room was completely silent. "That's not," Taylor started. "It's all true. I have bank statements, text messages, emails, everything backed up. Everything provable. $70,800 over 5 years. That's $1,180 per month on average. Every month for 60 months. I clicked to the next sheet. Here's the breakdown by category. Rent assistance, $14,000. Car payments and insurance, $12,000. Credit card minimums, $8,000. Health insurance premiums, $11,000. Education loan co-signing, $18,000. The rest, miscellaneous emergencies, gifts, investments that failed. Dad found his voice. Emily, this is inappropriate. Is it? Taylor just publicly accused me of making her feel guilty about needing help. I'm simply providing context for that accusation. Data, facts, numbers that don't lie. I click to another sheet. Here's the repayment column. Every dollar that was promised to be paid back. Every loan that was supposed to be temporary. Total promises. $42,000. Total actually repaid. $0. This is humiliating, Mom said. Yes, it is. It's humiliating to have given this much and been treated like I was the problem for noticing. It's humiliating to fund someone's lifestyle while they post Instagram photos about being blessed. It's humiliating to be called selfish for wanting to keep my own money. Taylor stood up, face red. You're making this up. You're fabricating this to make me look bad. Am I? Mark, can you confirm? My cousin Mark, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, stood up. I've reviewed all of Emily's documentation. Bank statements, transaction histories, loan documents. It's all legitimate. Every number, every date, every dollar, verified. You had no right. Taylor turned on him. I had every right. Emily asked me to verify her records because she knew you'd claim they were fake, so I did my due diligence. As someone who works in financial services, I can confirm this is one of the most comprehensive records of family financial exploitation I've ever seen. Exploitation? Brandon finally spoke. That's a strong word. Is it? What would you call taking $70,000 from someone over 5 years and never acknowledging it, never appreciating it, and publicly accusing them of being the problem when they finally speak up about it? Nobody had an answer. I clicked to the next screen. This is the part where I explain what happens next. As of right now, all auto payments to Taylor are canceled. Rent assistance? Canceled. Credit card payments? Canceled. Health insurance? Canceled. Car lease supplements? Canceled. Phone plan? You're being removed from my family plan. You can't do that. Taylor's voice went shrill. I absolutely can. These are my accounts, my credit, my money, and I'm withdrawing permission to use any of it. I pulled up another document. This is the cosigner removal form for your student loan. $18,000 you borrowed for an education you didn't complete. I've been paying it for 2 years while you contributed nothing. As of Monday, I'm filing to remove myself as cosigner. That will put the loan in default. Yes, it will. The full amount becomes due immediately. If you can't pay, and we both know you can't, it goes to collections. Your credit gets destroyed. You face legal consequences. But here's the important part. Those consequences are yours, not mine. For the first time in 5 years, your financial choices will actually affect you. Emily, please. Mom was crying now. You're destroying your sister. No, I'm stopping the destruction of myself. There's a difference. Dad stood up. This is our house. If you're going to act this way, you can leave. I'm already leaving. But before I go, I want to make one thing very clear. I'm done. Done with the requests. Done with the emergencies. Done with the guilt trips. Done with being called selfish for having boundaries. Done with funding Taylor's life while being told I don't understand family. I looked at Taylor. I love you. I will always love you. But I don't like you very much right now, and I definitely don't trust you. You've spent 5 years using me, and the moment I stop being useful, you attack me. That's not family. That's exploitation. I closed my laptop and picked up my bag. If anyone needs me, you can reach me at my number, But if you're calling to ask for money, don't bother. The Bank of Emily is permanently closed. I walked out. Nobody followed me. Nobody apologized. Nobody said anything except Taylor's voice, high and angry. I can't believe she just did that. She's lost her mind. I got in my car, drove to my apartment, and sat in silence for an hour, processing what I'd just done, the bridge I'd just burned, the family dinner I'd just destroyed. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Pure, uncomplicated relief. The weight lifting. The burden releasing. The constant anxiety about the next request, the next crisis, the next time I'd have to choose between my own needs and someone else's wants, all of it gone. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I'd set the boundary I'd needed to set for years. And yes, it had been ugly. Yes, it had been public. Yes, it had been brutal. But it had been necessary. The aftermath of Thanksgiving was immediate and overwhelming. My phone started blowing up within minutes of me leaving my parents' house. First came the family group text. Messages pouring in so fast I couldn't read them all. Accusations. Insults. Outrage. From Taylor. How could you do this to me? You're destroying my life. I hate you. From Dad. What you did was unconscionable. You embarrassed this entire family. You owe your sister an apology. From Mom. I don't know who you've become. The Emily I raised would never be this cruel. Call me. We need to talk about your behavior. From Brandon. You just cost me my marriage. Taylor is devastated. I hope you're proud of yourself. From various aunts and uncles. Families work things out privately. You should be ashamed. Money isn't worth destroying relationships over. I muted the group chat. Then I started blocking numbers, one by one, methodically. Every person who'd sent me a message attacking me rather than acknowledging the truth I'd presented. My phone kept buzzing with individual texts. I turned it off entirely. The next morning, I went to work. Focused on my job, on the quarter-end reports that needed finalizing, on anything that wasn't family drama. My boss noticed I was distracted. You okay, Emily? You seem off. Family stuff. It'll blow over. Thanksgiving drama? You could say that. If you need time, let me know. Family can be complicated. I thanked her and went back to work, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying the previous night. The look on Taylor's face when I showed the spreadsheet. Dad's anger. Mom's tears. The complete lack of anyone at all, acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, I had a point. At lunch, I turned my phone back on. More messages. But one stood out. From Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol was my grandmother's sister. She was in her 60s, a retired schoolteacher, someone I'd always liked but didn't see often. She lived 2 states away and usually only came for major holidays. Her text was simple. Emily, I saw what happened. Can we talk? Call me when you're free. I called her during my lunch break. Emily, honey, how are you holding up? Honestly? I don't know. Everyone's angry at me. Nobody seems to care that I documented 5 years of being used. I care, and I believe you. I've watched this dynamic for years and said nothing because I didn't think it was my place. That was wrong. I should have spoken up. What do you mean? Your parents have always favored Taylor, even when you were kids. You were the responsible one, so they assumed you were fine. Taylor was the difficult one, so she got all the attention. It's a common family pattern, but that doesn't make it okay. I feel like I'm going crazy. They're acting like I'm the villain for setting a boundary. You're not crazy. You're finally standing up for yourself. That threatens the family equilibrium they've built around using you. So what do I do? You hold firm, you maintain your boundaries, and you let them figure out how to function without your money. It's going to get worse before it gets better. How much worse? They're going to try everything: guilt, anger, manipulation. They might even try to turn other family members against you, but you have documentation, you have truth. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking you're wrong. Thank you. I needed to hear that. One more thing. I'm the co-trustee of your grandmother's estate. She left a trust fund for you and Taylor, $60,000 each. I've been managing Taylor's portion because she was supposed to get it when she turned 30. That's next month. My stomach dropped. Taylor was about to inherit $60,000. $60,000 that would disappear within a year, probably less, funding the same lifestyle I'd been subsidizing. What can I do about that? Actually, quite a bit. The trust document gives me discretionary power to freeze disbursements if there's evidence of financial irresponsibility or family disputes that might affect the proper use of the funds. I can invoke that clause. You'd do that? Your grandmother was very clear when she set up the trust. She wanted the money to help her grandchildren build stable lives, not fund dysfunction. If Taylor is using family members financially, that's exactly the kind of situation the protective clause was designed for. What would freezing it do? It would prevent her from accessing the funds until certain conditions are met. We could require financial counseling, proof of employment, a repayment plan for what she owes you, whatever we think is appropriate. That feels like I'm punishing her. No, honey. Punishment is revenge. This is accountability. There's a difference. Let me think about it. Take your time. But know that the option exists. Your grandmother wanted to protect both of you. Right now, I think you need protection from your sister, more than she needs protection from life. After I hung up with Aunt Carol, I sat in my car processing. Taylor was about to get $60,000. $60,000 she'd burned through in months. $60,000 that could be used to repay at least part of what she owed me. But more than that, $60,000 that could be used as leverage, as a teaching tool, as a consequence that actually meant something. That evening, I got a visitor. Brandon showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't let him in, but he looked genuinely distressed. 5 minutes, I said. Then you leave. Fair. He came in, sat on my couch, put his head in his hands. Taylor doesn't know I'm here? What do you want? To apologize and to tell you the truth. About what? About the money. About where some of it really went. I waited. Taylor told you I started a business that failed, that you invested $5,000. That's partially true. I did start a business, but the investment you made wasn't $5,000. It was $15,000. What? Taylor convinced you to give $5,000 directly. Then she took another $10,000 from your credit card over 3 months. Small charges you probably didn't notice because she was an authorized user. She told me you'd agreed to invest more, but wanted to keep it quiet for tax purposes. She stole $10,000 from me? Yes. And the business didn't just fail. It was never really viable. I was desperate because I'd gotten into debt. Gambling debt, if I'm honest. Stupid poker games with guys I worked with. I owed some people money. Bad people. Taylor knew. She convinced me to start a fake business, get money from you, and use it to pay off my debt. So you scammed me. Yes. We did. Together. And I've felt sick about it ever since. But Taylor kept saying it was fine, that you could afford it, that family helps family, that you'd never notice. She was so convincing. Why are you telling me this now? Because after what you did last night, I realized, you're right. all of it. The documentation, the boundaries, everything. We've been using you. I've been complicit in it, and I can't do it anymore. What does Taylor say about this confession? She doesn't know, and she'd be furious if she knew I was here. But I have proof. Text messages where we discussed it. Bank records showing the charges. I can give you everything. Why would you do that? Because it's the right thing. And because I'm tired of being married to someone who thinks exploitation is a valid relationship style. I'm done, Emily, with all of it. He pulled out his phone and forwarded me dozens of screenshots. Text conversations between him and Taylor discussing how to get more money from me. Plans for how to manipulate me. Jokes about how I was too responsible to say no. Reading them felt like being stabbed. These weren't desperate people making hard choices. These were calculating people treating me like a mark. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm leaving her. I filed for divorce yesterday. The lawyer says because we've only been married 3 years and have no assets, no real assets anyway, since we've been living off you, it should be quick. She'll blame me. She already does. Everything is always someone else's fault with Taylor. I didn't see it before, or I saw it and didn't care because it was convenient. But I see it now. After he left, I looked through the messages he'd sent, and I felt something shift from hurt to anger. Real anger. Not at being used, I'd already processed that, but at the calculated nature of it. The jokes, the contempt, the way they discussed me like I was stupid for being generous. I forwarded everything to Mark. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I scrolled through Taylor's Instagram. Her feed was a highlight reel of the life I'd funded. The apartment with the view, the designer clothes, the fancy dinners, the weekend trips. Every photo carefully curated to show success, style, sophistication, and every photo was a lie. Behind every outfit was a credit card I paid. Behind every vacation was money transferred from my account. Behind every perfect moment was me, invisible, funding the fantasy. I looked at the comments. Hundreds of people complimenting her style, her life, her success. You're so blessed. Goals? Living your best life. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew that her best life was built on someone else's money, that her blessings were actually burdens placed on me, that her goals were achieved by stealing from family. And in that moment, I realized something. The public humiliation at Thanksgiving wasn't enough. Taylor was still controlling the narrative on social media, still painting herself as the victim, still getting sympathy while I got blamed. I needed to change that. The weekend after Thanksgiving, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emily Reed? Yes? This is Monica Chen from the credit union. I'm calling about the co-signed student loan. We received your removal request, but there's a complication. What complication? Miss Taylor Reed has filed a hardship exemption, claiming that removing you as co-signer would cause undue financial distress, and claiming she has a verbal agreement with you to maintain the co-signature. There's no such agreement. Do you have documentation of that? Do I need documentation proving something doesn't exist? In cases where the primary borrower contests the removal, yes. We need clear evidence that there was no agreement to maintain co-signer status indefinitely. What if I have evidence of Miss Reed financially exploiting me? Would that qualify? Pause. That's unusual, but potentially relevant. What kind of evidence? 5 years of financial records showing a pattern of taking money without repayment. Text messages discussing how to manipulate me into giving more. Proof of unauthorized charges on credit cards where she was an authorized user. Longer pause. Miss Reed, that's potentially fraud. Have you reported this to law enforcement? Not yet. I strongly advise you to do so. If there's evidence of financial exploitation, that changes everything about this loan dispute. Can you send me what you have? I sent her the spreadsheets, the text messages from Brandon, bank statements showing unauthorized charges. Everything. 2 days later, she called back. Miss Reed, this is more serious than a cosigner dispute. I've forwarded this information to our fraud investigation department. They'll be contacting you and possibly Miss Taylor Reed. You may want to consult with an attorney. I didn't want to involve lawyers or police. I just wanted off the loan. I understand. But when fraud is discovered, we have legal obligations to investigate. This is out of my hands now. I called Mark. I think I just accidentally triggered a fraud investigation against Taylor. Good. Good? Emily, everything you showed me is textbook financial fraud. Unauthorized credit card use, false representations to obtain co-signatures, taking money under false pretenses. It should be investigated. But she's my sister, who stole from you for 5 years, who's now trying to trap you into continued financial obligation through false claims. Emily, at some point, you have to stop protecting her from consequences. I don't want her to go to jail. She won't. Most of this is civil, not criminal. Worst case, she faces penalties, repayment obligations, credit damage, which, frankly, she deserves. It feels like I'm attacking her. You're not attacking. You're finally defending yourself. There's a difference. That difference between attacking and defending became my mantra over the next few days. Every time I felt guilty, I reminded myself, I wasn't doing something to Taylor. I was stopping her from continuing to do something to me. Wednesday, I got a call from Taylor. First time she'd contacted me directly since Thanksgiving. You filed a fraud complaint against me? I filed for cosigner removal. The credit union discovered evidence of fraud in the process. You're trying to destroy me. First the public humiliation, now this? Taylor, you stole from me. For years. The credit union is just doing their job. I didn't steal. You gave me money. You said it was fine. I gave you some money. You took much more. Without permission. That's theft. It's family help. Help is voluntary. You took without asking. That's not help. That's theft. I'm your sister. How can you do this to me? How could you do it to me? How could you take $70,000 and not even say thank you? How could you mock me with your boyfriend about being too stupid to notice? How could you stand up at Thanksgiving and accuse me of keeping score when you knew how much I'd given? I was emotional. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every word. You wanted to make me the bad guy so nobody would look at your behavior. You wanted to control the narrative. But I have receipts, Taylor. Literal receipts. 5 years of them. What do you want from me? I want you to take responsibility. I want you to acknowledge what you did. I want you to stop playing victim when you're the one who victimized me. Fine. I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. Do you mean it? Pause. I'm sorry you felt used. That's not an apology. That's deflection. What do you want me to say, Emily? I want you to say, I took advantage of you. I used your money without appreciation. I mocked you for being generous. I tried to make you look bad when you finally stood up for yourself. That was wrong. I was wrong. Can you say that? Longer pause. I can't. Why not? Because then I'm the villain. Then I'm the bad person who used her sister. Then everyone will hate me. And that's more important than being honest? You don't understand what it's like to be me. Everyone always loved you. You're smart, successful, responsible Emily. I'm just the pretty one, the mess, the disappointment. The only thing I had was that people liked me. If I admit what I did, they won't even have that. You could have been more than the pretty one. You chose not to be. Easy for you to say. You're good at everything. I'm good at things because I work at them. You're not good at things because you've never had to be. Every time life got hard, someone saved you. Usually, me. So this is punishment for not being as perfect as you? This is consequences for stealing from me for 5 years. It's not about perfection. It's about basic honesty and respect. I hate you. I know, but I'm okay with that. I'd rather you hate me than destroy me. She hung up, and I felt that same mix of grief and relief. Grief for the sister relationship I'd wanted but never really had. Relief that I was finally speaking truth instead of enabling comfort. That evening, Aunt Carol called again. Emily, I need to talk to you about the trust fund. Taylor reached out to me asking for early disbursement. She claims she needs it urgently to pay off debts. Debts she created by using my money. Exactly. I told her no. I'm invoking the protective clause. Her access to the $60,000 is frozen until certain conditions are met. What conditions? That's what I want to discuss with you. I'm thinking proof of full-time employment for at least 3 months, completion of a financial literacy course, and a repayment plan for what she owes you. She'll never agree to that. Then she doesn't get the money. The trust document is clear. I have discretion to determine she's not financially responsible enough to receive it. Given what you've shown me, I think that's accurate. What about my parents? Will they challenge it? They can try, but I'm the legal trustee, and I have documentation supporting my decision. Your financial records, the fraud investigation, everything. They can be mad, but they can't override my authority. This is going to make the family situation worse. Probably. But Emily, sometimes families need to get worse before they can get better. Right now, everyone's enabled Taylor's behavior. Someone needs to stop. That someone is me. Why are you doing this? You barely know me. Because your grandmother would have wanted me to. She knew Taylor struggled with responsibility. That's why she put protective clauses in the trust. She wanted to make sure the money helped, not hurt. And right now, giving Taylor $60,000 would hurt her. It would enable more of the same behavior. It would teach her that consequences don't matter. So what happens now? I'm calling a family meeting, everyone together. I'm going to present the evidence, explain the trust requirements, and give Taylor a clear path forward if she wants access to her inheritance. Everyone will blame me. Let them. You have truth on your side, and eventually, truth wins. The family meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday. Mark offered to come with me for support. I accepted gratefully. We met at Aunt Carol's house. Neutral territory. Everyone showed up. Mom, Dad, Taylor, Brandon, even a few other relatives who'd heard through the grapevine that something major was happening. Aunt Carol set up the dining room table like a boardroom. Documents organized in folders. A laptop connected to a screen. This wasn't going to be an emotional family discussion. This was going to be a presentation of facts. Thank you for coming, Aunt Carol started. I've called this meeting to discuss Taylor's trust fund and some concerning financial patterns that have come to light. This is about Emily's accusations, Dad jumped in, which are exaggerated and which are documented, Aunt Carol cut him off, and which I've verified independently. Gary, Linda, You're going to want to see this. She pulled up the same spreadsheet I'd shown at Thanksgiving, but she'd added to it color-coded categories, trend lines, comparisons to average family assistance patterns. It looked professional, official, undeniable. Over 5 years, Emily has transferred, loaned, or spent on Taylor's behalf a total of $70,800. I've verified this against bank statements, credit card records, and loan documents. Every number is accurate. Emily makes good money, Dad said. She can afford it. That's not the point. The point is the pattern of behavior. Taylor requests help. Emily provides it. Taylor promises to repay. Taylor never does. The cycle repeats. That's not family helping family. That's financial exploitation. Aunt Carol clicked to the next slide. This is more concerning. Text messages between Taylor and her husband discussing how to manipulate Emily into giving more money. Jokes about Emily being too responsible to say no. Plans for what they called emergency scenarios that weren't actually emergencies, Mom gasped. Taylor's face went red. Brandon looked at the floor. This isn't help. This is fraud. And it gets worse. She clicked again. Unauthorized credit card charges. Taylor was added as an authorized user on one of Emily's credit cards for emergencies. Over 3 years, she charged $22,000 beyond what Emily explicitly approved. That's credit card fraud. I didn't know those weren't approved, Taylor said weakly. You discussed it in text messages with your husband. You knew. You did it anyway. Aunt Carol clicked again. The student loan. Emily co-signed $18,000 for Taylor's education. Taylor dropped out after 1 semester. Emily has been making payments for 2 years. Taylor has contributed $0. I couldn't afford it. You couldn't afford it because you were spending money on other things. Luxury clothes, expensive dinners, weekend trips, all documented on social media, ironically. She pulled up Taylor's Instagram. This is your feed. Designer dress, purchased the same month you missed a loan payment. Fancy restaurant. Posted the same week Emily covered your credit card minimum. Weekend in Miami. Scheduled the same month you told Emily you couldn't afford rent. The room was silent. So here's what happens now, Aunt Carol continued. As trustee of your grandmother's estate, I'm invoking the financial responsibility clause. Taylor, your $60,000 inheritance is frozen until you meet the following conditions. First, you must obtain and maintain full-time employment for at least 3 months. Not part-time, not gig work. A real job with regular hours and verifiable income. Second, you must complete a financial literacy course through an accredited institution. I have a list of approved programs. Third, you must develop and begin executing a repayment plan for what you owe Emily. The full $70,000 doesn't have to be repaid immediately, but you need to demonstrate good faith by paying at least $200 per month for the next year. Fourth, you must attend counseling, both individual therapy and family therapy with Emily if she's willing. If you meet all 4 conditions within 12 months, your inheritance will be released. If you don't, it remains frozen. The trust document gives me full authority to make this determination, and I've consulted with lawyers who confirm my decision is legally sound. This is insane, Taylor stood up. You can't do this. I can, and I am. Dad, Mom, are you just going to let her do this to me? Dad looked uncomfortable. Mom was crying, but neither of them said anything. Mark spoke up. May I add something? I've reviewed the trust documents as well. There's another provision. If Taylor contests this decision and loses, which she will, given the evidence, the legal fees come out of her inheritance. She could easily spend $20,000 on lawyers only to have the court uphold Aunt Carol's decision. She'd be left with $40,000 instead of $60,000. "This is blackmail," Taylor said. "No," I spoke for the first time. "Blackmail is threatening to reveal information unless you get something. This is accountability. You took $70,000 from me. Aunt Carol is requiring you to pay back a fraction of it to access money that's yours. That's not blackmail. That's consequences. I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're supposed to be my sister." "I am your sister. That's why I'm not having you arrested for fraud. That's why I'm giving you a path forward. That's why I'm offering you a chance to make this right instead of just writing you off completely. You're ruining my life. No, I'm stopping you from continuing to ruin mine." Taylor grabbed her coat and stormed out. Brandon hesitated, then followed her. We heard their car peel out of the driveway. Dad turned to me. "Are you happy now? You've destroyed this family." I didn't destroy anything. I revealed what was already broken. There's a difference. We took care of you when you were young. This is how you repay us? You took care of me when I was young because that's what parents do. That doesn't give you the right to demand I fund Taylor's life forever. I've repaid you by becoming a functional adult who doesn't need you to fix my problems. That should be enough. Mom was still crying. I just wanted my girls to love each other. Love isn't the same as exploitation, Mom. I do love Taylor, but I don't like her very much right now. And I definitely don't trust her. She has a year to earn that back. Whether she does is up to her. We left shortly after. In Mark's car, I felt exhausted but clear. Did we just do the right thing? Yes, definitely yes. Taylor has been enabled her entire life. Someone finally held her accountable. That's healthy, not cruel. It doesn't feel healthy. It feels like I just blew up my family. Your family was already blown up. You just stopped pretending it wasn't. The weeks after Thanksgiving were brutal. I thought the confrontation was the hard part. I was wrong. The aftermath, the daily work of holding a boundary, was worse. First came the flying monkeys, cousins, aunts, uncles. I barely knew calling to say I was cruel, selfish, destroying the family over money. I told them all the same thing. I have 5 years of records. If you want the truth, I'll send them. If not, don't call with opinions. Most stopped. Then came the guilt trips. Taylor was starving, evicted, losing her car. Mark checked. None of it was true. She was living with our parents, still had income. The crises were manufactured to break me. I didn't bend. She cycled through jobs, receptionist, retail, office temp. Fired, quit, walked out. The family made excuses: stress, mental health, bad bosses. No one mentioned that I'd been working nonstop since 22. That maybe Taylor's real issue was never having to face consequences. 4 months later, she still hadn't met Aunt Carol's conditions. No steady job, no repayment, no therapy. The $60,000 stayed frozen. So she turned to social media, posts about family who choose money over love, painting herself as a victim. Thousands sympathized. I stayed silent. Mark said engagement would only feed it. Still, it hurt. Being seen as the villain when all I'd done was stop being her savior. Then Brandon filed for divorce, publicly listing her lies, debts, and manipulation. Reporters picked it up. Overnight, her victim story collapsed. The comments flipped from pity to disgust. Within days, she deleted every account. And for the first time in months, my phone stopped buzzing. 6 months after the confrontation, Mom called. "We've been in therapy," she said. "We're starting to see patterns. How we expected you to be independent while coddling Taylor. We took your strength for granted, Dad added. We used family helps family to justify enabling her while exploiting you. That wasn't family. That was neglect. And we're sorry. For the first time, I cried. Not from guilt, but relief. Thank you, I said. They offered $5,000 toward what Taylor owed. I didn't need it, but I accepted. It wasn't about the money. It was acknowledgement. 7 months in, Taylor called. Her voice was small but steady. I've met Aunt Carol's requirements: job, course, therapy. I have a repayment plan. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I just wanted you to know I'm trying, really trying, and I finally get it. You didn't destroy my life. You stopped funding the fantasy I was living. She paused. I used you. I exploited your kindness. That was wrong. I was wrong. I exhaled. Thank you. That's what I needed to hear. I'm repaying everything, she said. $200 a month. It'll take years, but I'll do it. After we hung up, I sat in silence, feeling something new, hope. Not the naive hope that everything would be fixed, the deeper kind, the hope that accountability might finally bloom into change, that maybe, after all the wreckage, she was beginning to grow up. A year after Thanksgiving, Aunt Carol called one final meeting. Same room, same table, but the energy was different. Taylor arrived with proof: steady employment, therapy records, a repayment plan, $200 a month for 20 years. Aunt Carol reviewed everything, then nodded. You've met the conditions. I'm releasing your inheritance. $5,000 now, the rest in quarterly installments for 3 years. Taylor cried, relief mixed with shame. Thank you, she whispered. Then she turned to me. I want to sign something. Make it official that I'll pay you back. We did. Legal. Notarized. Real. Outside, she asked, Do you hate me? No, I'm angry, disappointed. But I don't hate you. Do you think we'll ever be close again? Maybe, but not like before. Before was built on dysfunction. Over time, things changed. Slowly. Carefully. Taylor kept her job, made her payments, stopped asking for more. My parents learned boundaries too. For once, everyone carried their own weight. It wasn't perfect. There were slips, guilt trips, moments of frustration. But I held firm. I learned that boundaries aren't walls. They're fences that teach people where your line is. 5 years later, Taylor handed me her final check. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. We cried, because it was true. I hadn't given up on her. I'd given up on being used by her. There's a difference. Now we talk, not out of obligation, but choice. We've built something new, imperfect but honest. But that Thanksgiving, I realized I hadn't destroyed my family by saying no. I'd saved myself and, somehow, given them a chance to save themselves too. The proof isn't in forgiveness or grand gestures. It's in quiet consistency, in Taylor's steady job, in her payments, in her growing self-respect. That's the real gratitude, the kind that doesn't need words, and it's enough.